And Lydia has some memory verses for us.
Luke 14:11. For the proud will be humbled, but the humble will be honored. We love him because he first loved us.
God has a message for us today. Kwame, come on up here. The scripture reading will be done by Kwame, and then we'll go into the sermonette and the skit.
Ester 4:13-14. And Mordecai told them to enter Ester. Do not think into your heart that you will escape in the king's place any more than all the other Jews. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom at such a time as this?
Okay, you'll see the rest of it without me intervening anymore. Alison is going to do a little sermonette, we'll call it, based on the book of Esther. And afterwards, there will be a skit by several of the other children of our church. Cherryl Tronzon will play Esther. Caleb Sharp will be King Ahasuerus. Seth Diaz will be Mordecai. Malachi Windschitl will be Haman. Bowman will be Zeresh. Dawson and Aron will be the friends of Haman. Kwame will be Hathach. And Esther's Maids will be by Lauren, Lydia, and Ezra.
Hey, it's my turn. It was before or after Christmas, towards that time, I was inspired to write some sort of sermon. And I chose my favorite book, Esther. And so then Miss Kim, she comes up to me and we need an idea for the children's program. And she asks me, will you preach your little sermon that you told us the one night when we were having worship? I said, sure. So, I'm modified it, I should say. So it'll fit into this amount of time. Okay. In Esther 1, Queen Vashti disobeyed, is what I like to call it. For a full, this is Esther 1:4 and so on. For a full 180 days, he displayed the vast wealth of his kingdom, the king, splendor and glory of his majesty. When these days were over, the king gave a banquet lasting 7 days in the enclosed garden of the king's palace, for all the people from least to greatest who were in the citadel of Susa. Citadel is city. So everyone in Susa was invited from the merchants and to his noble princes. So, yeah. And Queen Vashti also gave a banquet for the women of the royal palace, just her women, not the merchants' wives, just the people in her palace. In Esther 1:10, it says, on the 7th day when the king was high in spirits from wine, he commanded the 7 eunuchs who served him to bring before him Queen Vashti wearing her royal crown in order to display her beauty to the people of the nobles, for she was lovely to look at. But when the attendants delivered the king's command, Queen Vashti refused to come. Then the king became furious and burned with anger. Since it was customary for the king to consult experts in matters of law and justice, he spoke with the wise men who understood the times. Somebody said, they said, according to the law, what must be done to Queen Vashti? The king asked. She has not obeyed the command of the king, that the eunuchs have taken her. Then, his name is Memnitenna? Apparently he was very smart. He had the bright idea that Queen Vashti should be replaced, or should be banished from the kingdom. So, when all the other wives heard about what she had done, they would still respect her, their husbands, because, if he didn't banish her, then the wives and stuff, they'd go all rogue, and they'd be all like, well, I don't have to do this because Queen Vashti disobeyed the king, so I don't have to do that. So anyway, with the king still high in spirits, he sent out a proclamation, and Queen Vashti was banished from his provinces. 127 provinces. Later, when the anger and high spirits of the king had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what he decreed about her. The king's personal attendants proposed, let a search be made out for a beautiful young lady. Bring all the beautiful young ladies to the palace, and let them have several, 6 months, 12 months of beauty treatments. And when all the beauty treatments and everything are done, the king can choose who he likes best. So the king's like, yeah, sure, that's a good idea. Okay, then we come into Esther. Yeah, 12 months of beauty treatments, okay. 6 months with oil and myrrh, and 6 months with things. Okay. And this is how she would go to the king. Anything she wanted was given to her with her from the harem to the king's palace. The harem is, I guess, the queen's personal jewelry box, which is really a chamber. So, a lot of jewelry. In the evening, she would go there, and in the morning, she would return another part of the harem to the care of Ashgaz, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of the concubines. Okay. Now, Esther had this cousin. He was a cousin, but he was old enough to be her uncle. Her parents had died, and she was living with him. And I guess he was a gatekeeper or a scribe, or maybe he was a janitor. Anyway, he was in the king's palace. And you have to understand that Esther was already beautiful. She was ravishing. Plus 12 more months of beauty treatments. Wow. Okay. So, when she came before the king, she was beautiful, ravishing, and the king looked at her and he goes, that one. So she's queen for a little while. So he proclaimed a holiday throughout the provinces and distributed gifts with royal liberty. And then this next part is what I like to call Mordecai uncovers a conspiracy or a double plot. Because the king gave two of the king's princes had this idea to commit what was on a ship. It's called mutiny against the captain or the king. And so they planned to kill him. And Mordecai, being the gatekeeper, janitor, whatever he was, he heard about this conspiracy and told Esther, who told the king, who was outraged and had those two hanged. Now, here's the second plot. Haman's plot was to destroy the Jews. When those two were hanged, Haman rose to power. Haman was kind of evil, greedy, kind of a natural villain that you'd see, in those cartoons, but, he had power. And so, Haman did not like the Jews. So, he tricked the king into signing this decree for, to kill the Jews. And I guess this is where you all come in. Yeah.